Are you ready for Season 3 of Discography? We're jumping into the deep end of The Who. Not only will we go through every Studio Who album in great detail, but their story is often told between albums, so we'll be touching on non-album singles, the solo works of Keith Moon, John Entwistle, Roger Daltrey, and Pete Townsend, and some of the events that would make a record begin as a concept and land as something that would universally change the world. Discography returns to Consequence Podcast Network in January of 2019. Until then, be lucky.
Consequence Podcast Network.
Welcome to another edition of Kyle Meredith with. It's an audio interview series presented by WFPK Independent Louisville at WFPK.org, Consequence of Sound, and the Consequence Podcast Network. Before we get started, if you're not already, hit the subscribe button so you can keep up with all the interviews that we put out every single week. One on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and even some bonus episodes sometime. Of course, you can subscribe anywhere you're listening from right now. That includes Podcast Land with iTunes and Apple Podcasts, as well as YouTube and Spotify, if that's more your speed. I'm Kyle Meredith. Today, my guest, the Infamous Stringdusters, just released a new record called Rise Sun. We're going to hear about how compassion plays a big part of this record, as well as togetherness and their sense of optimism for America's future. We'll hear about co-writing with Kim Ritchie and the band being a Colorado-based band, what Red Rocks has meant not only to their genre, but to music worldwide. And they won a Grammy. In fact, that's where we'll get started here. Talking about the album Rise Sun, it's Kyle Meredith with the Infamous Stringdusters.
Howdy, what's up? Thanks for
It's great to have everybody here with a new record, Rise Sun. I do want to back up, though, because I think since the last time that we saw you all, you won a Grammy.
We did.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, it was really exciting.
Now, you'd been nominated before, but this has got to be different.
Yeah. Definitely. It's like the difference between first and not first.
Well, yeah, when you're nominated, it's like the awards come and go and the party's over, but when you win,
Party never ends.
In the club for life. So
In the club for life.
But yeah, it was really cool. Such an honor. So unexpected. But like you were saying, the last time we got nominated, it was for country instrumental performance. This time it was for, bluegrass album, for our album that we wrote all the songs and self-produced along with our engineer, Billy Hume. So it was cool and exciting and validating and all those good things.
I mean, did you guys get to go? Were you kind of swept up in the whole thing?
Oh yeah, we went.
We
it was
were
in
there.
New York at Madison Square Garden, so we got the whole enchilada.
Yeah, what's that like on a day like that? Because obviously we see what we see on TV, but that's nothing.
It's hectic, and you don't eat a lot throughout the day, but because you're
But it's
constantly-
really fun.
But it's really really fun.
Especially after you win.
Yeah, and you stay up really
That's
late,
when it gets really fun.
and you see Times Square in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
You get kind of like whisked into the, sort of the winner's circle and all these different things. And with all the other winners, so we were back there with Jason Isbell and Mastodon, Lisa Loeb, and it was just a big old party.
I want to hear that album. I don't know what it sounds like, but I want to hear it.
Let's do it.
And I also mentioned during that time, a little bit after that, I think the last time you guys were here, it was had the Covers EP where you covered old My Morning Jackets, so a nice little connection there, with Golden, and we loved that. Sounded great, but again, the compliments on this new record, Rise Sun. Is it fair to call it a concept record, or are you taking it that far?
I think, the concept was just to draw the line between our live show and the studio, and take away those walls, which are different. And but I think generally we looked at it as a project as a whole instead of as individual songs. I think we were able to sequence it even before we went into the studio, connect the songs, even have some improvised sections, and really it listens down from beginning to end as one thought.
For a lot of artists, there's a lot of revisions from that point, from we write the songs, we demo the songs, we get to the studio, but to kind of construct it that meticulously, did that box you in at all? Do you just like, well, this is the way it's got to be?
I think it gave us freedom, actually, to be able to just really, and we recorded it in sequence. So throughout the recording process, it was as if you were living inside of the record for those days that we were recording. So everything that you played or felt was informed by the day before, what was coming tomorrow. And so, it really gave a great shape to the whole record as it plays from beginning to end.
Yeah, it's like, when you do planning, like with anything, in the moment when you're executing it, it's much more free feeling because you're not trying to backtrack, decide, figure out, and then play things you've never even tried. And so it makes the performances really organic and flowy, which is what we wanted to get, So you have your plan, and then, we did all that, the sort of the brain work up front, or, beforehand. And then when you go into play, it's just fun. You just play through what you've created and try and get a good performance,
There's a novel idea. Just have fun with it.
Yeah.
Just go in and play music.
Go figure.
Go figure.
Right.
I dare to kind of take this album down to one word, but would compassion be a fair theme to look at?
Yeah, I like that. For sure. Yeah, the idea is definitely to instill sort of a positive vibe. That's what we were feeling with a lot of these songs, and that was sort of the binding theme: compassion, uplifting, love, truth, those sorts of things. And so, yeah, I think that's great, and that is hopefully what this album can do for people when they check it out.
Yeah, because I mean, you take, let's say, times like we're in right now, and a lot of artists can be reflective of that and how they choose to do that, whether it's revolution or resistance or something more like this, which sort of it seems to be a more bringing together.
Well, I mean, that's that's the idea, and when you're writing songs in a time like this, and I think everybody is feeling the same thing, no matter how you look at it all, is you want people to come together, and that's really what is important right now and where we're at, and as in the world, really. So when we're writing these songs coming from that place, and it's this longing for people to stop being so divisive and coming together and find love and everybody. I think that's what we're looking to do.
Yeah, and we're optimistic, generally speaking. I mean, I think you have to be a musician. So, that's sort of we write music from a real honest place of being hopeful and optimistic about pretty much everything.
Yeah, and if you do that through your career, I guess right now it just seems even more important to be throwing that message out there.
It's kind of what makes our job important.
Yeah.
It's
a good way
You gotta watch that truth thing, man, because you think it's like a given, and it's obviously very important to the whole human experiment, but man, you gotta watch that truth.
You gotta watch it.
You gotta be truthful, and we're trying to stand up for that, and you think that would be a given, but it's kind of coming under attack.
Right.
And it's bigger than careers or any of that stuff. It's really just about, being human, and I think that's where we're coming from.
Yeah, so compassion is probably the best single word. That's better than what I could have thought of. So thank you.
Thank you for that.
Thank you. We'll call our publicist as soon as we're done here.
I'm a big believer in a song being able to change the world, so I really do appreciate what you guys are doing right here with this music. And I saw there were some co-writes on here too. Kim Ritchie being one of those. We're big fans of Kim around here. What's the story?
Yeah, I actually co-wrote one of the songs on the record with Kim in a hotel room in Denver. Passing through, we got together and wrote one of the songs on the record called "Carry Me Away." It's one of the more bluegrassy songs on the record, actually.
Yeah. We love what you is. You mentioned Denver, and you guys will play Red Rocks again this year. Is it just me, or for a lot of bands, that seems like the epicenter of the universe right there, the Red Rocks show? Am I far off with that?
I don't think so. We've got 2 of us live in Denver, 3 of us live in the Front Range, and we travel all over and play all these cities and all these different markets and venues. And Denver, especially for this kind of music, is kind of the epicenter right now, for sure.
Because you have a lot of bands that, I don't know, just across genres. If they play there, the people will drive across country every single time. It's like, but we got to make the Red Rocks show.
Yeah, Red Rocks is iconic, and it always has been. I remember growing up watching the VHS of U2 playing Red Rocks. It's and I grew up just south of there, and my dad would take me. REM shows, Doobie Brothers, Bonnie Raitt. It's like it really is. Everyone's played there. When you walk around the backstage there, you can really see the history. It's amazing.
And there's a bronze statue of John Denver with his guitar slung over his back and an eagle landing on his arm. I'm not even kidding.
As majestic
That is
as
so
you can
sick.
make it.
If that doesn't tell you.
Sick. That's Rocky Mountain High.
I feel very lucky to be a non-musician and to be able to go through the tunnel there in the back with all the names scrawled on the walls. It's a pretty great moment for any music fan.
That's a good spot.
It's the Infamous Stringdusters here on 91.9 WFPK. New album, Rise Sun. Thank you all so much for being here today.
Thank
It's
you.
really great to having you.
Again, a big thanks to the Infamous Stringdusters and the new record, Rise Sun. Hey, before you get out of here, don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you can keep up with all of the interviews that we put out every single week. You can subscribe at YouTube, follow along on Spotify, or grab your podcast from iTunes, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your favorite podcasts from. After that, head to WFPK.org, where I do a show every Monday through Thursday from noon to 3 Eastern, where you can also find some bonus episodes of this series. ConsequenceOfSound.net has your music and film news, and you can also find me at Twitter at Kyle Meredith and Facebook/Kyle Meredith. That does it for another edition. I'm Kyle Meredith. I'll see you next time.
Consequence Podcast Network.